Hi all the students. Let us get started with the first chapter of biology by name Microorganisms, Friends and Foe. Basically, there are three headings in the topic. One is microorganisms. We have to know more about microorganisms. The second one is how are these microorganisms behaving as friends in our daily life and how are they acting as foe. Foe is anything which harms, something which is harming. So that is foe. So let us explore the first heading, which is nothing but microorganisms. I know that my children are really clever and they know the meaning of micro and organisms. We know that micro is something which is really tiny and organisms are referred to any living being in the world, right? So these are those tiny living organisms which we will not be able to see through our naked eye, but we will require a magnifying glass or a microscope to observe them. Let us maintain this column for the keywords today because in this concept you are going to learn so many keywords that you need to remember so that this concept becomes easy for you. So the first two keywords are magnifying glass. You might have seen a magnifying glass. It is a lens which basically enlarges the objects for you so that it becomes easy to see the tiny objects. And a microscope is a device which will help you to zoom in the picture of living organisms. They will be very tiny. There will be one-celled organisms which will look in a way that it is easy for us to look at their structure. So that is a microscope. So microorganisms are those tiny living organisms which cannot be seen with the naked eye, but we can take a magnifying glass and microscope to observe them. Now when I say microorganism, of course these microorganisms are there everywhere. There was one of the scientists who had said that human beings live in an ocean of microorganisms, and that is actually true. What not we have seen in our life, like we come across lot many bacteria, there are lot many advertisements which talk about bacteria, germs, viruses. Yes, that means this microorganisms, the word, it is not a simple one because it contains a variety of living organisms which are tiny in their nature, and that's the reason why we divide all the microorganisms into 5 major categories. The first category being bacteria, which we are quite familiar with, and the second one is protozoa. We will talk about it. And then we will have algae. We are quite familiar with this also. And then we have fungi. And the last one being the viruses. So these are the 5 major groups of microorganisms. We are aware of bacteria. These are microorganisms. Of course, there are some bacteria which act as friends and some act as foe. We will look into that in the next video. Let me give you 2 examples of bacteria. One is lactobacillus. This is the specific name of the bacteria. So one is lactobacillus and the other one is rhizobium. We have heard of both the bacteria. I know that we all are human beings, we tend to forget, but we will try recalling what they are doing in our daily life. And then we have protozoa. Again, these are microorganisms which are unicellular organisms. For example, amoeba, which you are quite familiar with. And then we have another organism called paramecium. So they belong to the category of microorganisms and they come under the class protozoa. Next one is algae. Basically, we refer algae in our daily language as pachi. These are those, green color, soft structures which you get to see wherever there is moisture. So algae is nothing but pachi. To give you examples, last year in 7th standard, you might have studied about Spirogyra. This is one of the examples of algae, and the other one is Chlamydomonas. I know children, the spellings are quite strange, but I also know that you guys are really clever. You will divide the words into syllables and you will be able to understand the spelling. Next one is fungi. Examples over here, we are already familiar with bread molds. That is one of the examples, and the next example will be penicillin. Children, make sure to practice all these examples because from here only we will pick up some of the examples and we will discuss about how organisms, microorganisms are acting as friends and foe. So make sure that you are paying attention towards all these words and you are practicing them enough so that they remain in your mind. Next one, viruses. For example, you might have heard about HIV virus. Then we have polio virus. And last one, which we all are very, very familiar with, is your coronavirus. Next, to talk about these viruses, these are really special and they are called as obligatory parasites. I'll talk about the special nature of these viruses, what makes them special in a while. Now, to start with, okay, now we got to know what are microorganisms. We also got to know the 5 classes of microorganisms. Now the question arises, ma'am, we are unable to see these microorganisms. Where are they there? They're there everywhere. They're there in the air. They're also there in the extreme climatic conditions like hot springs. You know what are hot springs, right? Underground water which comes out which is really hot. It is called as hot spring. These microorganisms are there over there and some of the bacteria are really special that they are found around the lava. You know, right? Lava's temperature goes beyond 100 degrees Celsius, which is already the boiling point of water. But then there are certain bacteria which can be present around the lava. That means they can survive in very extreme conditions. Here, some of the organisms they live inside the human body also sometimes, and sometimes they live on other organisms' body as well. So these organisms are present everywhere, and that's why I believe that the scientist, whoever said that human beings live in an ocean of organisms, is 100% right. Now, coming to these viruses, we call them as obligatory parasites. We are aware of the word parasite, right? Parasite is an organism which is present on the other organism's body, and in turn, it takes the nutrition from the organism. What is the meaning of obligatory? It is this word which is making the viruses special. To talk about this bacteria, protozoa, algae, fungi and all, no, these microorganisms at least they have a complete cell as their body. They are unicellular sometimes and some of them are multicellular, of course. But this virus is not even a complete cell. It doesn't have all the things, all the cell organelles which are basically a part of the animal cell. Rather, it is just two structures. One is the outer covering of the cell and then inside protein. That's it. So whenever it is there outside the organism, it acts as if it is a dead organism. It cannot reproduce on its own. It cannot grow on its own. It cannot multiply on its own. But the moment it enters the body of the other organism as a parasite, it starts behaving as if it is a living organism because it goes and attacks the machinery of the organism whichever it is attacking, and then in turn that organism helps it multiply, grow, divide itself. That's the reason why it is called as obligatory parasite, because when it is outside the host body it is dead and when it is inside the host body it is living. So that is the speciality of the viruses. I hope you are clear today with the meaning of microorganisms and the different classes of them. Basically, microorganisms are those tiny organisms which cannot be seen with the naked eye, but they can be seen with the help of a magnifying glass and a microscope. To talk about the groups of microorganisms, there are 5 major groups: bacteria, protozoa, algae, fungi and viruses, and these are some of the examples of these groups. See you in the next video.